Good morning, friends. It is Saturday, and I'm going to do another one color study. And this time I'm going to use Tundra Violet from Schmincke because I said I would. So I'm going to do that, and I'm set up myself with a little block here, and you may notice that I have the top. This is the paper, by the way. It is the Timarta watercolor block, 300 pound, 100% cotton, cold press, acid free. And I bought this a while back. When you're working with a block, just remember you've got one edge. In this case, it's right here. I'm hoping you can see that, where you're going to separate that paper ultimately from the block. So normally it's up here by the cover where the cover folds, but this time it's at the bottom. So I try to, usually keep that at the top so that when I have water flowing down, it's not flowing down into that area. Either way, I'm taping off, and I'm using this clip kind of like a way of keeping it at an angle so that I can let the water do its thing. I've got a card here because I'm hoping that as part of this, I can show you how I would use a card to create different effects. And, there's so many that you can do. Typically, what I used to do and what I learned to do was to take some paint from the tubes and create a card swipe painting. And I've got so many of those in my studio. And I haven't done one in a while. They can be pretty messy, but they are a lot of fun. So we'll do that ultimately at some point too. Meanwhile, I'm going to wet this down, and then I've got the Tundra Violet is this here. I've put a little bit here in this pan. I'm going to grab some more of it and just kind of load up this area here with it because I really want a good puddle of this color. I do have a little. Let's clean this off, and I'm going to grab this green down here and make sure that doesn't interfere. Do that some more. I really kind of want that pure color. There we go. But I do want a pretty good puddle over here. Since I'm not working with tubes, where normally I would just take a little bowl, which I have a ton of those too. It's just like a little finger bowls, and I can mix my colors in there and use those when I'm doing a lot of the really, really wet type of paintings. And with this one, I'm going to use, hopefully, quite a bit of paint. All right. So I've not worked with the Tundra Violet, and that's why I'm doing it, because someone commented on my last video about, the fact that with the Schmincke's, the Desert Green and the Tundra Violet were the favorites. And I explained I hadn't used Tundra Violet yet. So I'm going to go ahead and try it. And we're going to do the one color. So when you're working just with one color, you're just going to be using the tonal values to create the distinction between the sky and the land and anything else that you're going to be working with. So let's just go ahead and dig in. I'm going to take my Hake brush, and I've got, I think this is a 1.5. I don't know. I'm so terrible with that kind of stuff. And I'm literally just going to wet this paper really, 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 really well. Well, all the way down to about here. And it's going to be a lot of sky. Okay, let's go just about to there. And then we're going to drop in actually with a pretty big square brush. And this is a Princeton Snap number 1/4 inch, 3/4 inch. See what I mean? I'm terrible. I know that's not 1/4 inch. You can see the separation already, happening here with this granulated paint. So it's going to be interesting. I have no idea what to expect, but we're just going to go with it. So now that this is pretty wet, I can see how wet it is. I see one spot that looks a little drier. So you do want an even spread of water. So you can tell just by moving it around to make sure that you don't have anything puddling and then, whatnot. So I'm just going to start with a couple swipes in the sky here. And, like I said, this is a granulating color. So we're going to see what it does here. It could be really interesting. So the sky, really, that's about all I want. Throw some more color, some more water on there. I do want some movement if I can get it using gravity. Add some more darker areas in here. And if I have to, I'm going straight to the pan. Yeah, that's really what I want. Okay. We're going to let it do its thing. So having it tilted like that is giving it that ability to move the direction that you want it to be, which is downward in this case. All right, now that I've got that, give that a second to kind of settle. You can see down here at the bottom where I've kind of ended that area. So I'm just going to continue to separate it. When we have to add a little more water, I would prefer to do it with a misting. There we go. See the difference? It's a very fine spray, so you don't get a lot of water droplets. And then I can move this any way I want it. I don't know if you can see that or not. Perfect. So far, I'm liking that color. All right, there we go. And you see I've got the paper towels down here to kind of really give me enough to wipe off on, because this is going to be a pretty wet process. All right, now that we've got that up there, I'm going to kind of just thinly create some area here. We're going to put some rocks. And gosh, I love that color, the way it's granulating there. It's a lot of atmosphere in that color. So I'm kind of wanting to put more. You can. Let's just see if I'm able to drop some more. See how wet that is. Still pretty wet, but probably not as much as I would want to be adding some more in there. So I'm going to just spray. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. And you see how this is what I was talking about, being able to move it around and let it kind of flow where you want it to flow. Beautiful. All right, when it starts to pool on the side like this, you will want to take just something just barely touching the edge, so you're not creating just enough to take it out of that, the pool. So you don't want to create a line there. You just want to be able to kind of control. It got pretty dark up here. I'm going to re-wet, And this time I'm going to kind of move it here and then back down. Actually, let it go up into the corner. And we'll just gather it there. Same thing here. When it's pooling on the corner, gently, gently, gently. It's just like the very, very edge of this cloth is picking up. See how that is? All right, we're gonna leave it like that. Now, this is a cold press, so you've got a lot of texture on this paper, which I'm loving. All right, let's get that a little dry. All right, and really mainly I wanted this area here. That's all fine. It can continue doing what it wants to do. But now that we're down near this bottom, I'm going to put in darker, a little bit of a thicker mix of, and I'm seeing here now how it separates out and the different colors that come into that. So I'm going to go right in and really get a thick kind of portion of this. These little metal things really drive me crazy because they're interfering with my brush being able to get down in there. Oh gosh, Christine. Splashed my water. I cannot wait to get back out to my studio. All right. Still not being able to get enough. This is where I really like having tube paint. So let's do it this way. There we go. That's better. Just needed a brush I could get it actually down in there. Pan paints are great. For me, it's a convenience thing, but sometimes this type of painting in particular, I really prefer to have the tubes. But we're gonna make it work because I really wanted to try this color. All right, now that I've got that pretty much in there, let's hope it's enough, and if it's not, we'll add more. I'm gonna take this angled brush and kind of scoop up as much as I can of that. And I'm really just going to kind of take some dark in this area here. I'm going to have kind of our horizon line right about in there, and I can just really, we've done this before. All right, so far so good. Okay, I'm going to add some more of this here, and as it starts to spread, I'm going to be pulling it back down. Now, before that's completely dry, it's got a sheen on it. I'm going to take my card and just create some marks. And you can see how it just kind of lifts out and puts kind of a more of a textured surface there. whatever you think. That's pretty much what I want for this right now. And what I was going to do, because I wasn't sure how dark I could get this, but now that I know, I'm going to take this and just kind of give this some edge here. I don't want it to be too smooth. It just wants to because the paper's still damp. But that's okay. So what I had planned, thought I could do, is I got my little rigger out, and I was going to try to, not knowing how dark this would get, I was going to try to pull in some kind of a old dead tree or something. And I think I'm still going to try to do it because I think I can get it dark enough where I can get something just coming off, you know. Let's go ahead and try. See how much I can get with this brush. But this up here has to be dry. So I am going to go ahead and let's go ahead and dry this completely. All right, one thing I'm seeing is over here, it's me, I did it, where, you know, you could tell there's some different things here. And as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, you know, I can use that. So I'm going to make sure this is very thin, and I'm going to use that. So kind of dry brushing. And then even paler in the back here. There we go. All right, I'm cool with it. Try to give a little bit of a, make that line here stick out. All right. I feel better. You can tell this is mostly dry, but it's not completely dry. All right. Okay. I like the way this looks like light coming down. So I'm going to lighten that a little bit on the side of that hill. Very, 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 very clean brush. kind of create some areas that are just a little lighter. There we go. I like that. All right, now we're going to do our dark tree kind of thing going here. And I'm going to, of course, we're staying with the same color. This is a one color study. So I'm going to see how dark I can get this on the liner brush. And I think what I'm going to do is come off, just off the side here. Let's just do it. Okay, just like that. I'll have to come in here, but I'm just going to give it a kind of shape. There we go. I'll have to fill that in. I guess it might be kind of cheating saying one color when you have something that is so granulated, because the way that the way the color has that, I guess it's an orange, some kind of an orange. I don't know what goes into, off the top of my head, I don't know what goes into the Tundra Violet. If you know, put it in the comments. But I can tell that, I'm going to use this. I can tell that it's got just two different colors, at least. So I think you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to kind of get something really kind of, uh-oh, there goes the dog. Outside. Go on, out, go on. No barking in the house. They do anyway. They don't care. Okay, now that I've got kind of a structure here, I can go in with these branches. We need more paint. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's so funny, I have to count where I'm at on the palette. When you have this many colors, it's sometimes you can lose track, even though I do have the swatch card right there. It's early. I haven't finished my coffee yet, so I have all kinds of excuses. All right, there we go. All right. Go as much as we want, whatever feels right. What I tend to do is when I have, because I'm using the liner brush to keep it organic, I tend to, wherever there is a break, like an angle. So for example, right here, in this corner right here, that's where I feel like there needs to be something coming off of there. So that's kind of my rule. It took me a long time to try to figure out how I wanted to do that, because I want it to look natural. But sometimes it's hard because you don't know, you know, trees are interesting, and I want to keep it interesting, but I also want to keep some kind of rule of order, and that's my rule of order. That, and making sure that I keep the thicker areas at the bottom, smaller areas at the top. Okay. Really love how this is separating in the pan over here. They don't all have to end somewhere. You know, sometimes you'll get branches that have broken off, whatever. And that's cool too. All right. Put some darkness various places on here. As it lightens up, we can see where. I really kind of want it to feel like it's that way. So we can do that. And then how light you go is just completely up to you as well. And by light, I mean how tiny you want these ends. Really kind of depends on how the distance is. If it's very far away, you've got two sides, you know, well, two sides. You've got more than two sides to a tree. You got front, back. So these in the back, this area here, this one in the back, definitely. And I say in the back because it's on this side of the page, but also it's on the other side of the tree. And I can make it appear so just by kind of adding shading. And see, this to me seems a little light. There we go. I don't want to go too far. All right, I'm going to leave it like that. I might come back and add a little bit more really fine at the ends of these. And that's about it. We have created a one color study with Tundra Violet. The last couple things I will do will have to do with the horizon line. So I'm going to, in fact, I'm going to add a little bit of shading, but I want to get, and I'm just going to flatten this, dip that in there, try to get it pretty flat, and then just come along there. Kind of keep that horizon line there. I'm going to add a little bit more darker rocks down here at the bottom while we have this nice and thick over here. So I will add some shading in some of these areas. And maybe even some rocks in this area. Just to keep it interesting. All right, I think I'm good. I think I'm liking what I'm seeing. I will cut into those a tiny bit. Just a little bit here and there. It's still a little wet, so it makes it harder. And even where I added in here, there we go. All right, we are done. Let me know in the comments what you think about doing this kind of a study where it's one color, but it ends up creating an environment that looks, and okay, I do think I'm cheating in a way because of the fact that this Tundra Violet is so granulating, and those colors that come out from it, when you don't have as much water, it's going to be darker and more solid of a color. When you have a lot of water, as you saw where we did the sky, it created this really nice atmospheric kind of light in that background with the orange, almost like there's a sun back there somewhere. So I'm really happy with it. Let's take our tape off and see how we feel. I like these little quick projects because sometimes it's just that sense of accomplishment that you can get from doing something. It doesn't always have to be real complicated. Sometimes it can be something as simple as this. Let's take off our clip here and our paper. Just cover this for now, gently. I let them dry, but there you have it. So I'm really, really happy with that. To cut it off of the block, I have, it's called a block leaf, actually. And it is in here. Finding it is not always the easiest thing in the world because I've got everything you can imagine in here. Some people will use, it might even be on my little tray. No, it's in there. Some people will use a spatula or something like that, which we may end up this time because I cannot find my block leaf. And all the block leaf is it's a way of, there it is, haha. See, that's it. You can buy these. I mean, they're very inexpensive. I think I got a couple of them off of Temu. But now that you see where this opening is here, so I would stick this down in there. You want to make sure your painting's dry. But I would stick this back in here. And this is really thick paper, so I want to make sure I'm getting it. There we go. It almost seems impossibly thick, but that's because it's a 300-pound. That is really thick paper. I love it. Instead of the 140-pound that you might be used to with 300 GSM, which is what we get most of our papers, this is just like really, really solid, which is nice. You have to be careful doing this with these leaf. That's why the leaf is better than using a spatula, because it's not as sharp and you can kind of get a feel. I don't want to damage the paper underneath. I don't want to damage the piece of paper I'm removing. So, and I've done it. It just kind of makes, it's kind of like the best tool, I think, to do it. Here we go. All right. Put this aside. And again, this is the Tamarta watercolor block, 300 pound. Whew. All right. See how solid? You can't barely bend it. It's very, very solid. So I'm really happy with that. I hope you are as well. And I hope you'll give this a try because I know you can do it. One color. That's all you need. And it doesn't have to be Tundra Violet. It could be let's say anything where you can imagine a sky. So a lot of times I'll do Payne's Gray. Shadow Violet would be another one that would be really nice to do. Indigo would be fabulous. So we may end up doing one of those as well. There's quite a few from Schminke, like the Glacier Green, the Tundra Blue, the Shire Blue. The Shire Blue is probably not going to be dark enough. You want something that has enough darkness in it to be able to provide those contrasts. But there you go. I hope you will hit like, subscribe. I know I have a lot of viewers that are viewing my page but are not subscribed yet. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't, follow you around really. it just gets my channel out there so that, you know, others can view it and take advantage of any tips that they might get. And also, if you want to share the video, hit alert by doing the little yellow bell. When you do that, then you will be notified when the next video is released. All right, have a wonderful day. If it is your weekend as well, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.